Welcome back to the channel, everyone. This is Stefan on the French Cooking Academy, and this week we're going to be talking about flavoring with herbs, so fresh herbs and also dry herb with a simple recipe, which is a braised chicken with a lemon and thyme sauce. But for something extra special, I'm going to be using today some native Australian dry herbs and peppers. Yes, for something a bit different. But if you want to know exactly why I'm doing this today and what type of herbs I'm going to be using, well, keep watching. So as I said, something a bit special today, and as you can see, I've got all these little packets in front of me, and these are dry herbs, native Australian dry herb. Why do I have this in front of me? Because I've been approached by a small company, and as you know, I'm not doing this very often at all, and it is a little business started by a bunch of students in 2019, and what they really want to do is to bring native Australian herbs and peppers and all sorts of things into the pantries in Australia and around the world. Okay, what I like about them is not only they're going to bring some really flavors I don't even know, because it's really interesting, and they're really also keen on helping the local native Australian communities. People that knows the lands, understand the plants, know what to harvest, and then we can get these treasures that actually natively grow in Australia, which I think is really, really amazing. For the recipe today, I'm not going to go over all the stuff. You can find the details on their website. You can have all the details in the video description. But for today, what I'm going to show you is that how do we get out of that kind of comfort zone of just using the standard herbs we use all the time. So here I'm making a very simple family dish, and a chicken with a lemon and thyme. And what I'm going to do is that instead of using standard black pepper, I'm going to be using here the Tasmanian pepper berries, which is the oldest pepper in the world. Okay, that pepper here, these pepper berries, was the very first one that emerged from the ground thousands, even millions of years, I don't know how many thousands of years ago. And from there grew other types of pepper. So that's quite something. So we're going to use that. And for the lemon flavor, I've got something quite special I've never used, lemon myrtle. And this is coming from a tree. There are leaves that are extremely fragrant and they taste like lemon. Can you imagine? That's really interesting. So what I'm going to do is that chicken, I'm going to do lemon thyme with an addition of lemon myrtle and Tasmanian pepperberry, and throw all that in the sauce. Now remember, if you want to see what these guys are doing, go to their website, and you'll be glad to know if you're anywhere in the world, they do ship locally in Australia as well as internationally. So the recipe I'm making today, you can get some of these spices and try them for yourself, and something that may blow your mind. So now let's start the recipe. Right, so let's start this recipe. As always, the mise en place first. So for my chicken, I've cut it into pieces. I've got the drumsticks, I've got the thighs, and I've reserved all of the chicken bones, chopped into pieces that we're going to be using, like we did with the poulet Gaston Gérard. For the lemon, the juice of 2 lemons. If you don't have much time, my favorite utensil, the lemon rimmer. Take your lemon and you can press by hand. Super simple. So you're going to press 2 lemons in that bowl. Okay, so my lemon juice is ready. Now for the thyme. This is lemon thyme. There's different types of thyme. Okay, you got the French style. This is the lemon. It's got a slight lemon fragrance. So I've got quite a bunch here, like about a handful. And so we're going to go through the grueling task of plucking all these little things here, all the bits. And because we don't want all of the stalks, we're going to use about 3 or 4 stalks because we have to do a marinade. But for the rest, you're going to pluck all of the leaves and put this into a little bowl. And now for these special ingredients, the dry herbs. So this is the lemon myrtle. As you can see, it's a fine, fine powder, and very fragrant. So I've got here the equivalent of a tablespoon, but I'm going to be quite careful because it's really fragrant, so not to put too much. And the pepper berries from Tasmania, as you can see, exactly the same as black peppercorns. And what we're going to do here, I'm using the pestle and mortar. You're not going to see because black on black, you're not going to see much. But you can use a spice grinder, or you can just put in your pepper mill. But all what we're going to do, like a cracked black pepper, we're just going to crush them into a nice fine little mix. All right, I'm done. So I put this back into the that little white bowl here so we can see. But look at that. I mean, Let me try this. I mean, the smell. It's you know what? It's fruity. It smells like really like a wood. Wow, that's really interesting. It's a kind of it starts with a bit of a fruit, a bit of a bark, like woody kind of taste, but then it goes into a very flaming, sharp kind of heat, very prickly kind of heat. Not like pepper, like the typical pepper at all. It is more like it prickles in the mouth. It's very, very interesting. So what I can see already, we're gonna have to be very careful not to use too much of that. So it's good to try. I'm gonna have a little bit of those, just on the tongue. Wow, that is super strong as well. That is lemon. That's written, that has lemon written all over it. It's the same thing here. So when you get new stuff like that, it's good to use them, but don't overdo it. I always say less is more, especially when you go into new territories like this. So I'm just gonna put like a few pinches of that. And I think this one, the lemon myrtle, that's gonna be maximum 1.5 teaspoons. And that's how mise en place ready. So I've put the chicken bones in the fridge while we're gonna make the marinade as well as the cream. All what you need now, we're gonna use the branch of lemon thyme, pepper berries, lemon myrtle, the lemon juice. We're gonna have some salt, 2 or 3 pinches of salt and some olive oil. And let me show you how we're gonna do the marinade. So for the marinade, we're gonna take a large enough bowl, and we're gonna start by picking up some of our chicken and put everything in there. Once the chicken is in, we're gonna start with the dry ingredients. You can go the other way around. So a little bit of salt. I'm gonna add these twigs of lemon thyme that we have here. This one is a bit too long. And don't worry, you're gonna use a hand. So make sure you wash your hands before you do this. The pepper berries, I can still feel it on my tongue. It is, look at this. It's like a black powder. So you can see, when you use these spices to know if you put too much or not, look at how uniform it is. The amount of chicken we have, and the black I've got here covers just nicely. It's not like a pile or it's not like a tiny bit. And that's the way I know it is going to be enough. Same thing here from the lemon myrtle. I'm going to go very gentle. So you don't want to have a pile of it. Let the flavor express themselves. And this is very important. Okay? And that's for the dry stuff. You're gonna follow up with the lemon juice. Very nice. And of course, we always need some fat in the dish, so I'm gonna be using some olive oil on here. 2 or 3 tablespoons. That's it. Then you can use your hands if you want. Let me move this because we can't see very much. And you can use your hands if you want. You can use a spoon. I'm going to use this on the camera, but make sure everything is well blended together. And when this is done, you're going to cover this with plastic film, and we're going to leave this in the fridge for about an hour. That's how it looks like. You can see the pepper berries are giving this kind of color in there. It is very intriguing to me. I've never used these. It looks super exciting. I love that. All done. I've got my plastic wrap. Now, a lot of time people ask me, why do we even bother to do this? This is the kind of things I'm teaching in the course. Health and safety first. And this is an industry standard. You cover your preparation to avoid any contamination from your fridge. And something may drip. You may have a piece of meat, a piece of something, of some fish, or some piece of cheese falling into anything that's going to contaminate and pollute your kind of preparation. When you've got this, you protect it. And it's nothing to do with the flavor or anything like this. It is just to protect your preparation so you know it's safe and sound when you're going to be cooking it and serving it. Right, so after 1 hour, our chicken is well marinated. And what we have here now, we've got the marinade on one side with all the flavor infused with the chicken and all the spices. But we need to cook the chicken without the marinade first. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to take the chicken out and put it on the plate. Now, a lot of time when you work with marinade, one of the important things is to try to take your chicken out and don't leave too much marinade on top. So we try to let it drip a little bit, and if need be, sometimes you can even use like a little kitchen towel or something to remove the excess of moisture. All the chicken is here, so I've got my marinated chicken here, I've got the chicken bones on here, and this is the first thing we're going to start to cook in our cast iron pot. Now on the stove, I'm using the cast iron pot, Le Creuset 24 centimeters, and I'm using medium heat on here. And we're gonna start by really cooking slightly without much coloration the carcass. I've got 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. You can put 2 tablespoons. And very gently, we're gonna put this in. Now this is, remember, to get some kind of, a bit of chicken stock going on at the bottom of the pan. Same technique as the last time we did the chicken dish, and everything in. And the difference with the last time is that we're really gonna try to not put much coloration, because this is much of a white sauce, and it's a creamy lemon sauce. So as you can see, there's just a little bit of coloration, and I'm gonna remove those, and instead of the carcass or the bones, I'm gonna put my chicken in. So same thing here, and we had the carcass. Now we're gonna do is the chicken. So all the pieces, one at a time. You can put skin down first, it's up to you, whatever you like. And just a little bit of coloration and not much. All right, that's done. I'm gonna take my chicken out again and leave the space for the chicken bones and put it at the bottom. Now you will notice it is white, because when you cook, everybody thinks that automatically things has to get brown, but sometimes you want to try to get some kind of a whitish sauce instead of a brown sauce, and this is the goal here. So to win a bit of time, I've added my carcass back in. Now I'm gonna put my chicken back on top, and we're gonna use that same braising technique and let the juice be released to make sure we get plenty of stock and that kind of lemony type of sauce that we want. That's going to be very, very important. Okay, put the rest I've got here. Look at that, meat juices, very good. And finally, the thyme. So this is the branches we've been plucking, and that's going to be infusing slowly. I'm reducing my heat to medium-low. And if you want, you can add a little grating of lemon. What I mean by grating is more like a zesting. So you see I've done here, you can use that little tool, that zester, and you're gonna just peel once, twice, and that's about it. And you've got these little bits in here. So I'm gonna take a wooden spoon and stir a little bit the whole lot. Okay, so let's have a closer look at what we've done so far. So this is the chicken, and the heat is on medium-low, so as you can hear it's not raging, and we're just gonna mix around like we did with the poulet Gaston Gérard with the paprika. We're not really tossing everything. It's just to make sure you've got the lemon at the bottom of the pan, some of the thyme on the piece of chicken, and that's it. It's very gentle. We're gonna add a little bit of salt to finish, and I think I'm gonna add a pinch of this Tasmanian berries because they're really delicious. It's gonna give some real good intonation. From here, we're not going to use the marinade we have. This is after for the sauce. We're just going to put a lid on, put this on low heat even, and cook this for 35 minutes. 45 minutes have passed. So like the same recipe we've done, the Gaston Gérard recipe, same technique. You've got the chicken. We're going to reserve the pieces of chicken in a dish that can go into the oven. Keep them warm at about 60 to 70 degrees Celsius with a foil on. Okay, and then discard all of the bones and reduce the juices. So let me remove everything first. Now the sauce is the same thing. Here, it's kind of a little brownish and it's not looking very nice and appetizing. You got pieces of chicken, you got all the bits of thyme floating around. So what we're gonna do here, and we're gonna pass this through a sieve in another container, clean the pan a bit and put it back in, and to make sure you work with something nice and clean. All right, all done. So I've cleaned a little bit. I've catch also the excess of fat, and that lies in there with a spoon. You can scoop it out. And same as before, you see it's a brown kind of sauce already. That's why I tell you, even with the white meat, it still gets brown. And we're gonna put the heat on high, and we're gonna reduce this by a quart, so just to get it that little bit, that kind of syrupy consistency before we add the rest of the marinade and the cream. Right, so I've reduced the heat just to show you the sauce. You see there's still some sauce in here, and now we're gonna add the rest of the marinade. All done after a good 5 minutes, and this is the consistency of the sauce. What you're gonna do here is basically add now the rest of the marinade, which is basically lemon juice with oil and some other flavors in here. We're gonna bring that to the boil once and then add the cream. The boil is here. I'm gonna have a very quick taste. It's still very, very lemony. I like that. And I think that herb, that lemon myrtle, has really kept that balance. So now we can add the cream. And same thing, I'm going to bring that back to the boil. Look at that. It's boiling away. And of course the sauce now has got a better look, because before it was like a brown sauce. You may be thinking, what kind of sauce is he making? Okay, and you can see the sauce now. So let's try again. Wow, it's kind of a silky, creamy, with a clear lemon taste into it. It's really not too sharp, but it's definitely there. But it's nice because it's not overpowering as well. I like that. After a good 5 minutes of reduction, our sauce is now ready. All what you want is to have a bit of thickness into your cream, but don't overdo it. So 5 or 6 minutes is usually enough. Right, so we've got our chicken, and of course, like this, it doesn't really look super appetizing. And of course, the sauce is what's gonna kind of make the dish. So we're gonna pour all the sauce over and then decorate a little bit. Okay, so dressing up a white sauce with a kind of a white chicken, it can be a bit of a challenge. So what I've done here, you can see, try to bring a bit of color, a bit of green, and to really bring that happiness to the dish. Otherwise it can look a little bit bland, but really the lemon colors like this with a little lemon zest really add something. Of course, now let's do a very quick testing and I'll tell you my thoughts. All right, so time to try this chicken. Of course, in a plate it kind of works way better. So I've just have a little piece of chicken here, and you can also put the sauce at the last minute and warm it up in the oven. But I'm really curious. See, so we want a nice sauce like that. You see, it's very clean, very pristine. Yeah. So the lemon, it cut through the chicken, but just enough. Really not too much. I even think I could have put a bit more of the lemon myrtle, but it's a subtle taste that kind of blend in. And I think the cream makes it really happen. Now it's hard to, I think, to differentiate which one is the actual lemon juice and which one is the lemon myrtle. I don't really feel too much the pepper. So let's just add that little bit of seasoning. So it's just enough pepperiness. But I think it's more in the very, very fine details. Yeah, it is this kind of intonation, and when it's on your palate, you experience these different types of lemon. It's actually very, very interesting. And that completes the video with our special herbs, the dry herbs and the native Australian herbs. So remember, we've used the lemon myrtle and the Tasmanian pepperberries. I think they really add a little something, but using it this way is a good way to kind of test yourself with new spices. And it's not overwhelming, it doesn't change the taste dramatically. It goes in line here with the lemon, and it just adds some really nice intonation. So really highly recommended. As always, if you have any question on this video, use the comment section if you make that dish, always, like a lot of you are doing. Hashtag French Cook Academy. You can follow me on Facebook, become a patron on my Patreon page, and don't forget, we always have the cooking school, and we have gift cards now for the Christmas coming. And that's it for me. I see you all next week for another great French recipe. See you all. Bye-bye.